The next panel that we're going to see is really an incredible panel. I'll let the moderator introduce it. Before that, I'm going to introduce a video that we received this morning. It's fresh off the edit. It's been shot in the last few days and the last few weeks in Greece and Syria. It's about Syrian refugees arriving in Greece, and our partner, UNDP's partner, Martin Jakobson, has made, he makes music videos all over the world, crowdsourced music videos, and this is one of his production. So this is right off the press, first to see it, world premiere, music video from Greece about Syrian refugees.
مشلو عمودي نادم باريس ألمانيا هولي روبطماني نادم بروسيا وإيطاليا كاتشك جامعة ونصا كاتشك كردا حق مترا دوري مكة هي ولم كردن هرم برسامة بكنامنا عرب وتركن وشي بيستي ونماش بجاري مدخن
Thank you, welcome. كوباني دراما كوباني تعالوا هون يا محمد
From Syria to Egypt, in the sea, Italy, Germany, Denmark, Sweden. Miss my father and miss my family and miss my home and miss my Syria, my old Syria.
وشي بيستي ونماش بجاري مدخن كازل لما وكاهل ما بقرن هي نقر بر هي أمي تبترو جافا فاكن شد بملا ببيس كوباني برنادم حسك يا خامنة أجيبات نادم رابن بحزارة لهم بجارة بان كل تارا بشكي نسينو راه هيدا اللي خن سليماني هيدا قربيخان خباط وشروكي في قلعة ريخان تمام يس
ألمانيا تهريب ألمانيا ما زبطت من تركيا تزبط من إسبانيا ولك سوريا يا قلب عمري اشتقت لأهلك وناسك ولك وينك يا قلبي رجعيلي ولك يا غربة حرقتي قلبي ولك حرقتي قلبي يما وينك يما تعالي يمي وينك يما تعالي يمي ولك الغربة صعبة يا ناس الغربة صعبة ما حد يترك البلد ولك سوريا يا أغلى من الذهب يا سوريا
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me remind you right now that we are in the presence of a rock and roll Hall of Famer, and it doesn't get much cooler than that. except that she is also a badass social activist. And joining us today, also Jessie Paris Smith, who is a fellow musician, daughter of Patti, and also a social activist, and Martin Jacobson, who created that music video right there. So let's start with that. That's a very gritty video created by a female Syrian refugee. Tell us more about it.
Well, it's a project that we've been doing with the UNDP on the Sustainable Development Goals, where we have been producing 4 music videos from around the world. So one is from Syria, one is from Sudan, one is from Myanmar, and one is from, the last one from Kenya. And this is the job that we do. We work around the world with marginalized youth, using creative means to give voice to people who don't have any. So for this video in particular, it was, it's been as rowdy and gritty as you see it, because our team, the Dado, that's a female Syrian refugee, and Papa, who is the head of our film department, they've been living on the beaches for 3 months in a tent, and then they've been doing these trainings with cameras to send them back up to Europe to document, to show its real stories. And the drive was that this video was called Both People Are Real People, but that's because you see all over the world, from Australia to Myanmar to Europe, there is this notion, and there's people posting on the internet, both people are not real people. It's actually a hashtag, right? So we're trying to flip that around and show, get all close and see, this is real people, hopes and dreams, love. I mean, the guy's mother is breaking your heart, right? And I mean, if we don't see these people as being people, then we don't see anything anymore. So we have to see each other. And that's the whole foundation of the partnership.
Yeah, turning tables, giving voices to the marginalized. And Patti, you're no stranger to doing that. Over the years, you've contributed to social issues such as Israeli foreign policy, the Iraq War, which you opposed loudly through several songs. Can you tell us about some of those songs you created and what impact, looking back, they had on society?
Well, I'm not very articulate politically. I take a humanist view. I knew going into Iraq was wrong, was immoral, and spoke out and gathered with people all over the world. We marched in Italy, in France. We went to Washington, and millions and millions of people were opposed to going into Iraq. And we, of course, were not successful in stopping the Bush administration. So when I wrote a song, which was called Radio Baghdad, my approach was a simple humanistic approach. I took the approach, being as I am a mother, and I took the approach of a mother, the night of shock and awe, trying to sing her children to sleep as the bombs were falling. And projecting that as a mother was so heartbreaking. You know, it was very easy for me to channel an Iraqi mother fearing for her children's safety while the Americans were dropping bombs. So my way usually of doing things are to get people back on the grassroots level, just as he spoke of in, you know, seeing people as people. You take it down to the common denominator.
And just hearing you describe that gives me some chills. You also did the same thing with your song, Kana, which one time you performed, but before performing it, you said, and I quote, "War seems to me in our lifetime something that we can make obsolete." Do you still believe that today in 2015? And
well, absolutely. I mean, we aren't making strides that way, but I was born right after World War II with this, you know, with a sense of idealism that came from my parents, that wars had been fought, it was over. Now it was time to rebuild our world. And I thought as a child that that was it, wars were over. I had, you know, read all of the biblical wars and all the wars through history and thought we were in a blessed time period. But I'm always willing to believe that when I wrote Kana, after so many sleeping children were killed in the bombing of Kana, my band performed that in front of the president of Lebanon. and his cabinet were sitting there, and some of them openly wept.
Wow.
And again, it was taken from the point of view of a mother. Having my son and daughter has magnified my empathy for the human experience, that's for sure.
Great. And Jesse, it's harder to put a face on the topic you're keen into, climate change, but you're trying really hard with the musical twist with Pathways to Paris. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization and how you're like using music like your mother to try to affect change?
Yeah. So Pathway to Paris, I founded with cellist Rebecca Foon last year after the People's Climate March, which was spearheaded by Bill McKibben and 350. And we were so inspired by the hundreds of thousands of people that took to the streets all over the world in such a major grassroots act to highlight the importance of climate action. And we wanted to do something to celebrate it, and we're both musicians, so we put together a concert, and then that kind of just gained so much momentum with all the different people that wanted to be involved from all different backgrounds. And so we founded Pathway to Paris, and it's an initiative that brings together musicians, artists, poets, writers with climate experts, activists, politicians, scientists, and we've done this through a series of concerts, and now 350 and Bill McKibben are our partners, so all the events are also fundraisers for 350, and we have a website where people, musicians and artists and activists, they send in different, whether it's a song that they made or people send in innovative solutions that we highlight on our website. And it's just been so powerful to see all those different kinds of people coming together for one reason, and it's made so much sense to have music be the voice of climate change. And Bill McKibben says climate change is the most critical issue of our time. It's the biggest thing happening every day. So at all of our events, we try and remind people that it's not a niche topic. This is an issue that's everyone all over the world. It's the underlying source of so many problems that affect people everywhere on the planet. And so it's a global concern. And then on the other side of that, music is the universal language. So it's a language that no matter where you're from or what language you speak, we can all connect through music. And
definitely, and from what I've seen of it is you guys are trying to get people educated so that they know the policy issues and they can go back and talk to their legislators to kind of spark that change really quickly.
All of our events have someone from 350, whether it's Bill McKibben or someone else speaking about it, and it's all leading up. It's called Pathway to Paris because it's all leading up to the COP21, to the UN Climate Change Conference, and pushing people to realize how important it is that gives the opportunity to establish legally binding agreement. And we hope that it's just a seed and it'll continue after Paris.
A seed, no pun intended there. Environment.
I just wanted to say that I've done many benefits through the years, through decades, and often many of us leave the benefit feeling like, yes, it was a great concert, but did anyone go away with any particular message?
Yeah.
And working with Jessie, she's shown me, she works in a whole different manner. No matter how small or big it is, she always has speakers, she always has educational material. I never work with Jessie that I feel we just did a concert. It is education and science and poetry and music. So I think that's the way of the future.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool to see the entertainment portion of this activism, but of course at the heart of it is the education and the awareness. And there are other topics that we can keep talking about. Do you think musicians are doing enough nowadays to affect change in certain topics? So we have like people with Black Lives Matters, we have Prince, we have Janelle Monáe. For gay rights, we have Lady Gaga, Demi Lovato, everyone. Are songs enough, or should they be doing more?
Well, I mean, looking at, you know, what my daughter is doing, you know, she is a musician, and I think that new generation musicians are understanding that just doing concerts isn't enough. You have to open the conversation. And, you know, I'm not going to judge fellow musicians. I know that throughout the history of rock and roll, music has really incited, not just rock and roll, but in my time, excited people, incited them, rallied them to action. But in the end, a musician can offer a song, can offer his presence, but it's the people who have to make change. It's the people who have to march. It's the people who have to vote and protest. You know, it's really wonderful to have musicians and artists who can inspire people. But without action of the people, like Gandhi, he was so inspiring, and he was such a beautiful, he so beautifully articulated what the people needed. But if they didn't rally by the millions, nothing would have happened. So it's a responsibility of all people.
I agree totally, and I mean, that's also why I see these sustainable development goals that are being launched now. I mean, if you're critical like the Economist or Bill Gates Foundation and stuff like that, you say, this is not, there's no benchmarks. We cannot measure this in economic terms. But I think the beauty of it is that it's actually trying to be holistic. But we better keep the people to that promise. And the people I'm talking about, everybody here in the room. So it's all of our responsibility to do this, but it's also our responsibility not to use it as another neo-colonial whip to go and tell people how you want to develop. So that's the partnership that we have done with UNDP, to go out and say, give the microphone, give the camera to the people who are actually suffering from the root causes that these SDGs are trying to eradicate, right? So get their stories out. Surprise, it's going to fit into your beautiful, sustainable framework anyway, but actually you will have a genuine voice with people talking about their problems. And this is what we want. And this is the way you can empower people. And then Patti's right, the people will rise and they will do stuff. And they will help carry these goals like all of us have to do.
And it's become easier than ever to rally people with digital media, social media. Fun fact, on Twitter and Facebook, the #1 topic discussed is music. And so using music is definitely a great way to rally the people, and your company is doing that with Turning Tables.
Well, it's also a way of addressing some hardcore issues in a different way. Because let's see, when we work in refugee camps or in urban slums and stuff like that, you have a situation where the space is gone. The space is shrunk to an extent where there's no creative space. But without the creative space, there's most people cannot address how they feel, who they are, what they want to do in the world. So if you can provide just a minimum of creative space where people can do this, they can access their problems, but also come up with solutions in a different way. And then the beauty of the music and the arts in general is that this is a tool of communication and people relate instantly. So you can relate. I mean, the music is a vehicle, the films is a vehicle, but also arts and other stuff. It's a great tool, so you can access it at an individual level, but at the same time you're creating and supporting an informal social movement. And that's what I find is really interesting, because then you communicate on a horizontal level with people who have the same problems and don't worry so much about getting a fancy exhibit in New York or in Chicago, whatever. I mean, people, I tell you, people in Kenya in the slums or in Myanmar, or I mean, these Syrians, they don't give a damn about that stuff. They just want to improve their lives. They want to be the change that they want to see in the world. And this is where the arts can instigate this, because we're not going to do it for them. Patti said that. I mean, and you're not going to do it for them either. But you have to take responsibility so that we keep these sustainable development goals to be a movement by the people. It has to be bottom up, because what we have left.
Exactly, and you're doing it with every part of you. Right now you're wearing this outfit. Tell us about
I mean, it's not that interesting, my outfit. It's actually inspirational, because it was some kids in Sudan. This is a Sudanese school uniform, and I saw that and I thought, damn, that's rad. I gotta get me one of those. So, but I don't think it's a statement in any way, and it's probably not gonna change the world either what I wear.
Definitely a conversation starter, though. This is the first thing I mentioned when I met him today. Awesome. And you're growing up at a different time than your mother with all this technology helping you get the word out. I guess, how are you seeing your role in activism different than how she approached it back a few decades ago?
Well, I know maybe you have some bad feelings about social media.
No, I'm proud of how you use social media. I'm proud of that.
It can be a very, very useful tool. Like what was the story about the people who with the text message? Remember?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to do anything, but the few media skills, social media skills I have, Jesse taught me. But that doesn't mean I'm opposed to it as a powerful tool. I'm opposed to it as people being a slave to it.
But the people with the text.
Yes, when we were it was in Spain, there was an election, and it was a local election, and these young people in Madrid told me that they overturned a bad candidate, someone who was really bad, by texting. It was texting, right? They sent texts, vote. telling each other, vote, go to the polls now and vote, vote, vote. And they were all texting each other, and it went, like, I suppose, viral, and they all voted, and they overturned the election. And we know that a fax machine helped bring down the Soviet Union in Poland. I think that even though I'm not really adept at it, social media and technology can be powerful unifying tools if it's used well, if it's used intelligently. And I see the things that Jesse does. I see the websites, and people say to me all the time, your daughter has sent me all this information on climate change. I'm learning so much. And oh yeah. So,
But
you have to talk. I don't know any more about it.
No, but I agree that, but it's also right to be skeptical about it, because all of us do it. I'm very guilty of this, but it's like you find something and then you get outrageous and then you post it and then you feel better, but you actually did absolutely nothing. And you all do it out there, I know that.
Action.
So it's about inspiring other people and putting yourself out there and doing something. And I think that's where the music can help. I mean, that's our expertise and the arts and stuff like that. But it's, I think what is really important to see is that Helen Clark from the UNDP stood up here yesterday and she said, basically, to the people, you have to rise up. We have to support the people out there and not the government. So she actually told to throw over the governments indirectly. Sorry, Helen. But what I'm saying is that that's a massive statement. The UNDP have to work with the governments all over the world, and it takes some guts to go out and say this. But you cannot just say it, and you cannot just repost it. You have to do it, and you have to do it too, because everybody knows what's wrong or right. But you have to get out there. We can only use these goals to change the world if we all do it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is like what I said about planting a seed, like whether it's Facebook or an email or even just saying something on stage. It's not the final step, but it might inspire someone else to go out and do something. Like you told me once, it's not our job. Like our job might just be to say something on stage or use a song as a chance to make someone think about something. And people say, like, oh, what are they doing? All they're doing is just talking about it on stage. But yeah, if you have a whole audience of people listening to you and you say something, they're going to think about it when they weren't thinking about it 10 minutes ago, and maybe 10 or 15 or 1,000 people will go home and then act on that.
Definitely. Let's put some thoughts into their head right now. So as the closing question, since we have a minute, who are some people out there leading the charge in making people aware of social issues that you think they should know about, other than you three, of course?
I mean, that to me is like,
Bill McKibben.
it's
There we go.
I mean, really, Pope Francis, he was speaking, but then, some young kid that's, telling his parents, don't litter, Dad, don't throw that piece of paper. I heard a kid, don't throw that on the ground, pick it up. And the guy's going, what the hell, and he's, I don't like name shout outs. I just think these are grassroots things, and no person is more important than the other, because only by big numbers can we make change. We can't make change with 5,000 people, 10,000, but 5 million, 100 million. It's the Gandhi, it's the Gandhi lesson. Get them with the numbers. That was like we had a slogan in our band, wake up from your slumber and get them with the numbers. Right. That's the way we make change. And
but it can start with just one person.
Just one, of course. The power of the individual is beautiful and mighty. But the power of the people collected is change. So inspiration, then change. And we'll all do our best to inspire, but we have to really embrace things together and make change.
That is the perfect closing statement right there. All right, thank you everyone for joining the panel.
Whoops, my thing's hanging. This is like a little tail. Oops, sorry. Thank you.